Hello Year 9. Today we're going to look at something called ecotourism. Ecotourism can happen in a variety of biomes, but we're particularly looking at the rainforest because that's our case study for the living world. So we're going to investigate the role that ecotourism can play in protecting the tropical rainforests from further destruction. So for a starter, I'd like you to have a look at this and see how many sustainable management techniques you can find. We looked at 12 sustainable management techniques last lesson. See how many you can find. Don't need to write anything down. Might want to pause. How many did you get? There's 9 in the puzzle. What are the other 3 from last lesson that you might have been looking for? They were debt reduction programs, international agreements, and shifting cultivation. So over the past few lessons, we've seen how important it is to protect the tropical forests. We've also seen, though, that most of the reasons behind the destruction is in order to earn money, and we can't ignore how important that is because most of the people who live in countries with tropical rainforests are fairly poor and their governments are fairly poor too. So this can prevent developments in quality of life and standard of living, which would improve the lives of those people. So it's not reasonable to expect them to stop deforestation if there's no other way for them to make some money. And that's where ecotourism can help. Ecotourism is a way of poorer countries generating revenue, making money by preserving their rainforests. Now, as we go through the information on these slides, I want you to make a list of the benefits of ecotourism. So I've included some photographs so you can get an idea and a feel for it. Pause so that you can read this fully and make some notes about the benefits. So there are lots of benefits. It certainly seems like a good idea, doesn't it? Here are some benefits that you might have written on your list. Please pause and add any that you missed. Now, the tourists who go on these trips don't stay in hotels like we are used to hotels. They stay in something called an eco-lodge. In the next few slides, I've got some pictures of eco-lodges, so you might want to have a look at those before you make your sketch, or I've done a little sketch for you as an example here. If you do that in the middle of your page, you can write your labels or annotations around so that we're collecting some ways that make eco-lodges more sustainable than regular hotels. Here's an example. This is in the Amazon rainforest. These huts are all pre-built, which means that they didn't have to cut down any trees in order to make them. However, I suppose they did have to cut down some trees to make the space to put them there. There are fewer rooms. A hotel might have hundreds of rooms, but an ecotourism development will be very limited in its size. Fewer rooms means less impact. The toilets are composting toilets, which means that the waste is allowed to rot down naturally and return nutrients to the soil, and the showers use the fresh rainwater. They have solar panels on the top, which is making use of renewable energy. These ones are painted green so that they don't stick out too much and ruin the visual look of the environment. They're also on stilts for good views, but that's not a way in which it's more sustainable, which is why I've put it in a different colour. So that's not actually really a benefit for the environment, it's more a benefit for the tourists. Here's another example of an eco-lodge. Also, this is built up into the canopy, but this one is built from natural materials. And it's got an open design, so it doesn't need any air conditioning. Remember, the temperatures in this biome are very high, so tourists visiting the area, and probably spent a lot of money to do so, will want to feel comfortable whilst they're there. If you did have air conditioning, that would make a huge dent because it would be using a lot of energy. And these particular eco-lodges, these are built by local people using local materials and using their own skills and their traditional knowledge. And the traditional design, again, keeps guests cool without the need for air conditioning. Remember to make some annotations to your sketch. You might want to pause now, go back, do your sketch and put your annotations on. Selling local handicrafts was one of the benefits that was mentioned earlier. If we have a look at this information, you can add a little bit more detail. Now, ecotourism isn't all good. Like most things in life, there are two sides to the argument, and a lot of people have found that ecotourism isn't quite as green and environmentally friendly as it may first appear. Read this information and compile a list of arguments against ecotourism. So, the question this lesson was, can ecotourism save the rainforest? And you will be writing an answer to that question. Before you do, I'd like you to pause this video and watch the clip that your teacher has also attached to the lesson. Make some notes which will add detail to your answer. Then come back and use the writing frame. Here is the writing frame. This will help you to answer your question fully. Remember that a good answer has a lot of examples and a lot of detail in it. Now, when you've finished this, please send it in to your teacher if you can, by Show My Homework or email or on Teams. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.